We've just had the most astonishing conversation on praying at the speed of love. You know that, well, you know that the great love of my life is prayer. I love prayer so much. I love all its forms. I love everything about it. And I love prayer teaching me something new about prayer. Well, that's exactly what happened with the incredible, where are they hiding your title on here, your name, Mallorie Vaudoise, author of Honoring Your Ancestors. Now, Mallorie came to me because I asked the publicist at Llewellyn, a publisher I love and adore, by any chance, do you know anybody that would really fit nicely with Praying at the Speed of Love? And she said, and Kat's never wrong, she said, yes. And she sent this book. Now, what she couldn't know, what Mallorie couldn't know, what I couldn't know, is that the timing of the arrival of this particular book on this particular topic of honoring your ancestors is coming to me at the precise moment that I can feel my ancestors calling me in a really big, big way to make a major move in my life. I can't exactly explain this, but through my body, through my womb, through my gut, through my heart, in the last week, I know, and I know that in this final move of my life, I'm 71 years old, I am moving to the Hudson River Valley in New York State. I have never visited the Hudson River Valley in New York State. This makes no sense. And I sent this email out to my friends and my family saying, I'm moving. I'm going home. I'm going home. Now, even as I'm typing this email, I'm going home. Intellectually, I know this makes no sense. How can you go home to a place that you've never been? So I go to the library. I'm sorry, not that. I go to the library and I get a few books about New York because, you know, if you're going to move to New York State, you might want to start. And I, unfortunately, was reading in the tub, almost dropped the book. I had to go, oh, boy. And you know what? If I had to repay the library for this, I would be thrilled to do it. I'm just poking around, looking at the Hudson River Valley, and suddenly I see this word popping out. Can you see that? Huguenot Street. Does Huguenot Street mean anything to you? No, of course it doesn't. It means everything to me because my mother, years and years and years ago, devoted 3 years of her life to creating genealogies for her 5 children on Daddy's side of the family and her side of the family. And she gave us this genealogy for the Connor side of the family. She was so happy. I mean, and we did not, I have been apologizing to her. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I did not appreciate until now, 71, the incredible ancestral gift she has given me, because turns out my first ancestor, Philippe de Mallory's going to pronounce it correctly for us, is a French. Say it one more time.
Du Trieux.
Du Trieux. Philippe du Trieux came to America. Are you ready? In this ship, the New Netherland, the ship that arrived right after the Mayflower in 1624, and he and the entire boat were French Huguenots. What? So my hands knew as I was typing that when my feet touch this, it's the oldest city, it's a park now, it's a landmark. There's a little section in New Paltz, New York, called Huguenot Street, and they've preserved it. These are buildings from right after my family arrived. I am going home. Now, Mallorie, can you possibly explain to us, because you wrote the book on it, I guess I'm honoring my ancestors by getting my feet on their land and saying hello to them. You understand this way beyond my ability to understand it. Tell us about this incredible book and your rich experiences honoring the ancestors.
Well, I think that that story is very beautiful, Janet. And also, I hear lots of beautiful stories like that every day, thanks to the people who contact me through the book after starting a practice where they're honoring their ancestors. And I think there's a couple of elements of that story which are quite common. The first is that you had this intuition that was in your body and undeniable. It was in your womb, in your heart, in your gut. Your whole body was telling you this story. Even though you didn't know exactly why you were being led there, you knew that it resonated with you. And so our ancestors, particularly our blood ancestors, are rooted in our physical body. The physical is sacred, the same way that the spiritual is. And our bodies are designed to do this type of work for us, to lead us down particular paths, to tell us which ones we should definitely take, even if it doesn't make any sense, and which ones we should probably walk away from. But then the other element of that story that is quite common as well is you did find the paper documentation that led you to the truth, that affirmed why you were feeling this way. And for a lot of people, once they start honoring their ancestors, even in very simple ways, just like the ritual we described in the show today, they find that information about their ancestors, they don't have to work for it. It just sort of finds its way to them.
Yeah, because they're alive. That's what everything that you're about makes this so clear. They're alive. They're alive in us. And on the show, Mallorie also taught us about, yes, you've got your blood ancestors, but you wouldn't even believe all the ancestors. And so you know who snuck into the conversation? If you know me and have been hanging around with me, you're not going to be surprised, but my boyfriend dropped into the conversation because now I know that he is an affinity ancestor. He and I are both interested in mysticism. So you get to meet my boyfriend on the show too. We covered so much ground. We covered so many magnificent things, and you helped us to pray with our ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Praying to and for our ancestors. It's an important practice. And just as we talked about on the show, that is a two-way conversation. It's not just us speaking out into the void, but the void actually speaks back. And it can provide guidance, it can provide inspiration, creativity, moving us through life and in our creative pursuits, in our art, our music, our dance, whatever your thing is. The ancestors are there to provide new perspective and to help to guide us as we're on this crazy journey that they once walked.
And so we're all walking it together. So Mallorie, tell everybody, because I struggle with the pronunciation. I want them to hear you say it. Of course you're a witch. Of course you're a witch. I think this is just this is the highest praise anybody can give you. But tell everybody, because you have outrageous, magnificent, multicultural, multi-mystical training. So tell everybody just a wee little bit about you.
Well, in addition to being a witch, I have also had the privilege of studying in several traditional lineages, including my ancestral drumming and dance traditions, which I've trained in with Alessandra Belloni, who was one of the original guests on this show. And I've trained in several African diasporic traditions. I'm an initiated Olorisha, that is, I am an Orisha priestess, my lineage coming from Cuba. And I'm also initiated in an Afro-Brazilian tradition called Kimbanda, which is based in mediumship and spirit work.
And somehow, all of that, pieces of that, we told each other the most magnificent stories. Listeners, don't be a listener. I mean, don't just be a listener. Be sure, after you've heard the show, or if you want to hear the show, come to janetconnor.com/5 14. This is that sign language for 14. This is the 14th conversation on praying at the speed of love. And with every conversation, we just go deeper, sweeter, greater. We are just having the time of our lives. And you get to outrageous gifts. First of all, the publisher, thank you, Kat, is giving us in your prayer bag, when you get the show notes, click on that prayer bag and you get the chapter on prayer in the book. And Mallorie recorded, this fabulous video of praying in the Latin Catholic tradition of her ancestors. And so I want to leave you with who knew? My mother's wisdom on the front page of this genealogy. Sorry, that was me kicking over my camera. You know, this is very live, but listen to this. The family is a community of generations. In prayer, everyone should be present, the living and those who have died, and also those yet to come into the world. What? My mother never talked like that. Well, this was written by Pope John Paul II on February 2nd, 1994. Join Mallorie and I for Honoring Your Ancestors on Praying at the Speed of Love, episode 14. And soon you will be praying with your ancestors too. And they'll be praying with you, because you know what we say, you're not praying, you're being prayed. Prayed at the speed of love.